Hey, everybody. Good morning. Jeremy and Joe. Happy Tuesday. Happy Sabres return day, I guess. Home against the Vegas Golden Knights this evening. 2 more games until the trade deadline. The deadline will be Friday. Sabres play tonight, and then at Pittsburgh. Then the deadline hits. And then 5 straight home games. So any new player, welcome him to town
right away
if they're going to get anybody. Joining us on the Western Hotline to chat about the trade deadline is Jeff Marek of Daily Faceoff. Jeff, good morning. Jeremy and Joe, happy deadline week.
Yeah, good. Yeah, happy deadline. Happy no sleep week. Happy excessive caffeine week, and happy be careful what you say on the air week because it could all blow up.
Yeah. What do you think it'll be a busy deadline? It's a little different. Joe and I were going through some of the like the trade bait lists, and it feels like the days of all expiring UFAs being the targets are gone because everybody's got term on this trade bait list.
A lot of players have term, absolutely. And the one thing that a lot of managers are sort of resolved to, and maybe we'll see this happening with the Buffalo Sabres, is more so now than ever, there doesn't seem to be a necessarily a massive fear about losing UFAs at the end of the year, right? Now, sometimes that does blow up in your face. We've seen that with Toronto losing Mitch Marner. But generally, and I'll think about the Carolina Hurricanes specifically, who have completely redone their blue line, and it's still elite, even though they've let a lot of players walk away. More and more general managers now are looking at cap space as a commodity or as a challenge, and they have the ability to plug and play players more so than ever. And of course, this offseason, the salary cap starts to go up. So there's more of a comfort zone now for managers. When the salary cap was flat, during and after COVID, it became more of a challenge, and everybody wanted to lock up their guys. Managers have a little more flexible approach now to everything.
And on the not being afraid to lose your guys, on the Sabres, Jeff, we didn't really ever have a will they trade Alex Tuch conversation because the team's been so good that I don't really feel like it's ever made sense. He kind of is how we framed it. He's kind of your own rental if you want to hang on to him and even risk losing him for nothing at the end of the year.
Yeah, the Tuch conversation is a fascinating one, right? Because if you look at the numbers and the comparables, really, he should be getting the Adrian Kempe contract. But hometown guy, want to shave a little bit off, I should say hometown, but local guy, loved in the market, family loves it, all of it. How much of a discount are you going to give that for Alex Tuch versus the idea of we can't let him, quote unquote, walk away for nothing, which has generally been the traditional way to look at UFAs versus we're going great right here. And this is kind of where I'm at on the Buffalo Sabres, guys. Everything is going so good. It's the best team in the NHL since December. Everything at every single position, it's firing on all cylinders. I'd be really sensitive about moving this an inch to the left or an inch to the right. I know that there's a couple of holes right now that Kekalainen probably wants to fill, but I'd be really sensitive about tinkering with the chemistry of this team at all. If anything, I'm just doing something around the edges.
So do you feel like a big move then, like one of the Blues guys, Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou, for instance, like a move of that level, they shouldn't maybe feel the need to chase that down?
I don't think so. Now, I mean, I understand as well as you guys do, and as well as everybody in Buffalo does. The non-playoff streak needs to end. Terry Pagula hates the number 14. Get that out, get that away from the Buffalo Sabres. So there is very much a let's just do everything to get into the playoffs here as we reset this thing, as this team has now matured and looks like it's going to be a consistent playoff team. And we keep hearing the clips about, this isn't just about getting to the playoffs, it's about the Stanley Cup. That's a great mentality. You have to have that. But as far as making the massive move right now, Jarmo's not a young general manager, right? And I don't think that Jarmo's going to act impulsively here and just, look at the landscape of the marketplace and say, I got to go get the best possible player I can. That's generally the bailiwick of a younger GM. I think he takes a measured approach. And I think he has everything. I think he takes everything with a long view, as opposed to let's just hot shot this thing to get into the playoffs or make sure we're getting into the playoffs. Sabres are going. They're good. They're going into the playoffs. now don't wreck the vibe of this team, carry it into the postseason. I would not be swinging for the fences here. Like, I'd be looking at, like, if I'm Jarmo Kekalainen, I'm looking for, and I have one name in mind that I think would be a perfect fit for the Buffalo Sabres, and he's kind of a flying under the radar kind of guy because he plays in San Jose. But if I'm the Buffalo Sabres, I'm looking for a depth left-hand defenseman, and I'm looking to San Jose for Mario Ferraro. That is my guy. He can play on your bottom pairs. He can play, like, he's probably, Sam Dickinson's going to be the best defenseman on that team one day, but he's not there yet. Mario Ferraro might be the best D on the San Jose Sharks. He's on an expiring contract. That's why it might be a little bit difficult to get him out. But if San Jose is putting him to market and all it's going to cost you is a second-round pick, I'd be looking at Mario Ferraro if I'm the Buffalo Sabres.
Jeff, you said they're good, of course, and you also kind of suggested maybe this could be the start of a multi-year appearance in the playoffs. We'll see about that. Like, we'd love that, of course, to kind of get back to real life. If you think they're good, are they good enough to win it?
Stanley Cup, no. I would love to be, trust me, I would love to be wrong about this. But, I mean, outside of the St. Louis Blues in 2019, we generally don't see the Cinderella story. They have all the pieces of being a really, really good team. They could probably even win a round. And if it ends up being Detroit and Buffalo in the first round, place your bets. That one to me is jump ball. There's not a lot of experience in the postseason there with the Buffalo Sabres. I don't think it's a Stanley Cup team. I would only be too happy to be wrong. I'm a Southwestern Ontario kid that grew up with the voice of Ted Darling in the French Connection. So I have an affinity for the Buffalo Sabres. So my old Buffalo Sabres soul would love it. But I don't see a way where the Buffalo Sabres win the Cup this year.
And it sounds like maybe you don't think there's a way. Again, I don't think any Sabres fan would be heartbroken to hear a person doesn't think they can win the Cup. We're still loving life right now. But you would think that
you should.
Yeah, that's right. But
the team's good.
But the steps,
really good.
The steps to be that team, you would say that's more of get a full off season in kind of thing, not under the crunch of deadline.
You know what the main thing is? It's a really good point. It's a really good question too. One of when we talk about the steps that winning teams have to go through, one of the first hurdles here, and I just mentioned San Jose, and they're going through that now, is so all of the younger players, they need to know, and I shouldn't even say younger because there's some guys that already hit their stride, but don't have the success. They need to know what a real 82-game season feels like, right? Like, that is a different beast than, we're out at Christmas time and we're just going to play some empty calorie games and this sucks and I'm in a sour mood and hockey stinks and I just want the season to be done. The first thing is everybody on the team needs to know what 82 real games feel like. Not like, our coach is blowing it or our GM is blowing it up at deadline and it's just going to be, coast to the finish. Your team needs to know what 82 games feels like. Then they need to see and feel what a playoff game feels like. Because you guys know, the playoff puck is heavier. Everything is different. Gaps close really fast. It's really intense. Every hit is for keeps. All of it. It is so different than the regular season. So once those two hurdles are achieved, it's only at that point that I say to myself, okay, this team is starting to get ready to challenge for the Stanley Cup. The Buffalo Sabres still aren't there, but they're getting closer. I mean, look, like I mentioned, since December, it's been the best team in the NHL. And that is fantastic for this team and for that market. But there's still challenges on the horizon. The big one is, what does it feel like in the playoffs? And how do you make sure you're not overwhelmed by it? Because we've seen teams, finally make it to the postseason and they get absolutely stomped in the first round because it's nothing like the regular season.
Yeah, I guess you just alluded to this a little bit. Jeff Marek's with us. The sheet on Daily Faceoff throughout the week is thinking about who they might play right away, and that has been for me I think they could win a round, in part because if they play Detroit, or I guess you didn't mention Montreal. I wonder if you think Montreal might be different for this. Those are two teams that don't have much playoff experience lately either. And if you get an opponent like that versus, say, Tampa or Carolina in round one, then there'd be no reason why, especially if you had home ice, that you wouldn't be able to win at least one round.
I think the Sabres can beat the Detroit Red Wings. I think the Sabres can really beat the Montreal Canadiens unless they do something with their net minding. Montreal's in a really bad spot here where I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it's not as consequential what Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki and Davidoff do and Lane Hudson do, because we've seen time after time after time, most recently this weekend, it can all be undone by bad goaltending. Right? Like goals, so much. We've heard coaches before say, we should rename the sport goalie and stop calling it hockey because goalie is all that really matters. Like I used to always love the Harry Sinden line when he was the manager of the Boston Bruins would always say, goaltending is like oxygen. I don't notice it until I don't have it, and it's true. And Montreal's going through that right now. Edmonton's gone through that for a long time. The Philadelphia Flyers, going back to Pelle Lindbergh or maybe Ron Hextall, know exactly what we're talking about. And it's such a frustrating feeling, too. And that's why I'll look at a Buffalo Sabres, Montreal Canadiens. Oh, bless the old Adams division. Even just thinking about that, my heart, just thinking about that for a second. And I'm saying to myself, Buffalo can score in bunches. And the Montreal Canadiens have had a hard time stopping the puck. To me, I'd look at that matchup and say, yeah, that one too is advantage Buffalo. But Montreal does have the experience from being in last season.
By the way, would you have gone to Buffalo-Montreal playoff games back in the day? Because you would have went to the Odd a bunch, right?
Dude, I was there when McGillney broke his leg. I grew up going to Maple Leaf Gardens and the Odd. And even then when I went to university at Guelph, we couldn't afford Leafs tickets. We're all starving university students. So we used to, every weekend, make the trip to the Odd. Oh, yeah. Oh, Earl of Bud served me. Don't worry. Earl of Bud served me plenty of times at the Odd. I was one of those guys. The cheapest seats in the house, but I was there. I have fond soap and warm water memories of the auditorium.
How much was that cheap seat?
Probably like $10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus tonight, we have
honestly, the Odd was so great. I mean, because you were right on top of the action. I used to walk in and get to the seats, and it wasn't like stadiums now are all sort of laid back because they're all multi-purpose. But the old Odd, the seats went straight up. I loved it. You were right on top of the action. I know it was an old dumpy building, and I know modern buildings have to hit a certain standard. But man, that was such a charm because you were right on top of the players. I loved it. It was my favorite rink to go to.
You'll have to get to a Bills game, by the way, because I think that is how they're building the new stadium. Everyone's kind of right on top of the field when that opens.
Yeah.
Are there any?
Awesome.
You mentioned Ferraro in San Jose. Are there any other names that stick out to you? Maybe one up front. It could be another blue liner that you feel like would be a good, again, kind of tinkering on the edges idea for the Sabres by Friday.
I don't know that I would do anything up front. I really like the forward mix. I would be looking at the back end, and I'd be looking at left shot defensemen. So maybe you look at someone. Maybe you want more size on the back end as well. So maybe you're looking at Logan Stanley, who's on an expiring contract with the Winnipeg Jets. Maybe you look at Jamie Alexiak with the Seattle Kraken, although Seattle are kind of going dang. All of a sudden Seattle's in third place in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. They're going for it here. One of the more intriguing names that's out there, and he still does have term too, is Oliver Ekman-Larsson with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who has been, I know it's been a bad year for the Maple Leafs, and they just got stomped on Saturday by the Ottawa Senators after laying 2 eggs after the Olympic break against Tampa, Florida. And Oliver Ekman-Larsson has been the Maple Leafs' best defenseman, full stop. That's a name that intrigues me as well. I don't know that if I'm the Buffalo Sabres, I'm looking at our previous point, any of the biggies up front. I'd be really sensitive about my forward mix. But if you're looking for a depth forward, maybe you're looking at Scott Lawton. Maybe you're looking at Jason Dickinson. Him and Mikheyev, 2 deals with the Chicago Blackhawks that they still have sort of dangling out there after Connor Murphy got traded yesterday. So, again, I don't know that I would touch the forward mix as much as I'd be looking for a depth D here.
Do you have a favorite of the Sabres defenseman reunion pool Rasmus Ristolainen, Tyler Myers. Miss anybody else?
I feel like there was another one.
Ryan O'Reilly. Let's go full Sabres.
Evander Kane.
Getting the band back together. Which former Sabre is the best idea?
Evan Rodriguez.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one.
Hey, I'm an Erod truther from the. I'm an Erod truther from the start, Jeff. So
I'm with you. Like that would be honestly like that. I love that guy. I absolutely love him. I think that every team could use someone like him. I would go that way. I'll tell you what. I'm really happy that Ristolainen, played so great at the Olympics, and it's kind of turned things around. Because the story, as you guys well know, with Ristolainen over the last little while has been he can't get the hospital bracelet off. And I always hate to see players go through that during their career. So I'm glad that has sort of turned around here, and he's become one of the more, I guess, desirable right shot defensemen that's available on the market. But I go Erod. If I'm playing like Buffalo Sabres fantasy camp here, and I could pick an old sword, I'm going with him.
very good, Jeff Marek on the Sabres and the trade deadline. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
No problem. Call back anytime, boys.
Yep, Jeff Marek of Daily Faceoff, and wants the Sabres to don't do too much.